Back on NFL Live, the window opens for teams to designate franchise and transition players starting tomorrow at 4 Eastern, and that will last until March 4th. Now, on March 10th, the free agent negotiation period begins for 2 days. That was wild last year. And then the league year officially begins at 4 Eastern on March 12th, and free agents can sign their deals then. So teams right now are just in this evaluating process, right, with what do they need, what's their cap situation, what are their priorities, are there some potential cap casualties that we should be keeping our eye on, Jeremy?
Yeah, there's a ton of star players that could be on that block over the next few weeks. Let's start with Joey Bosa with the Chargers. Really accomplished pass rusher. So the Chargers can save around $25 million on their salary cap if they move on from Bosa. He's in the last year of his contract. Been a very productive player there, but they also have Khalil Mack, who's a free agent that they want to try to retain on a new deal. If they do so, that could take away from Bosa's future. Maybe he goes to the 49ers, reunites with his brother Nick, like from their Ohio State days when they overlapped there. Then you got Mark Andrews of the Ravens. This one's interesting because only 28 years old, and he's been a core Raven for a long time. But they can save $11 million on their salary cap if they move on. Slightly less production last year compared to previous years, so we'll see what they do. Certainly he would have a market if he is a free agent. There could be several tight ends league-wide who could be looking for new homes. Now let's go to the Rams. Cooper Kupp. We know based on his social media post that the Rams plan to release or trade him. They prefer to trade him. I'm told that Kupp's agent and the Rams have had preliminary discussions about potential teams or about a trade. So nothing is imminent at this point, but the feeling is that something will be worked out. Talking to teams around the league, they believe Kupp still has a market, very quarterback-friendly, very smart player despite declining production and age. Then you got Davante Adams. This one kind of seems like a slam dunk to move on via release, similar to Aaron Rodgers, because his cap hit is huge. They can save around $30 million on the cap by releasing Adams outright in this year's deal. I'm told that Adams pretty clearly wants to be on the West Coast, or he has a preference to look at teams like the Rams or 49ers or Chargers. He's from California. That would make a lot of sense for him potentially if he can make that work.
Yeah, and you told us at the top of the show, maybe he and Aaron Rodgers go somewhere as a package deal. Why not? Talk about some of these ideal landing spots with Sam and Bill. So, Sam, let's start with you, and let's start with Davante Adams. Irrespective of Rodgers, where do you think would be the best destination for him?
I think the Commanders would be a perfect fit for Davante Adams. And the reason why is not just his success over the last decade or so, but what he'll be able to do to help out a upcoming sophomore quarterback in Jaden Daniels. We already know how great Terry McLaurin has been. So now all of a sudden you add a true wide receiver, really number one. You have two number ones to add to this offense. So another weapon, another outlet for a young quarterback who's on a rookie deal. So I think that the Commanders make perfect sense for Davante Adams. Pair him up with T-Mac and you're good to go.
Yeah, I look at Chris Godwin of the Buccaneers, a player who was very productive before that unfortunate injury. Started 2023 to that moment he got hurt in 2024. He was 8th in receptions, 12th in receiving yards amongst wide receivers. And it's going to be a big market for him. You have two former Bucs OCs who are now head coaches in the NFL. Dave Canales in Carolina, battling towards Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. They're going to want to get Trevor Lawrence going. Christian Kirk, possibly a cap casualty there. Going to be an opening in the slot for Chris Godwin. Stay in Florida tax-free. Really excited about him possibly going to the Jags.
Oh, what I'm excited about is Deebo Samuel potentially going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The reason why I say Pittsburgh is that Deebo's style of play fits the culture in Pittsburgh. They're nasty, they're tough, they're physical. That's exactly what Deebo has been his entire career. Whether he's a running back or a receiver, whatever you put him at, he's going to try and be physically dominant. And so for me, I think that's just a perfect fit. And oh, by the way, let's say George Pickens has some update games and down games like he did last year. Now all of a sudden you have a weapon even if George Pickens isn't showing up.
Yeah, then there's Tyreek Hill, who asked for a trade and then seemed to not ask for a trade in Miami. The Baltimore Ravens seem like such an exciting fit for me. Let's torture those safeties who are stuck trying to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the run game. The Ravens' last 2 years, their games have come down to unfortunate drops and unfortunate fumbles by, say, Flowers and then Mark Andrews last season in the AFC divisional round. So get Tyreek Hill, get a burner, get a great receiver. We're only really committed for 1 year financially. If you can get another receiver for Lamar Jackson, an offense that has been more pass happy, that could really be the thing that takes them forward in 2025.
Oh, what do you think about that, Sam?
Well, I love that idea. Well, I love that idea. I hadn't heard that before, and that gets me excited because one thing that Baltimore did in adding Derrick Henry is that they stressed defenses physically. But now if they do go about adding a guy like Tyreek Hill, they won't just stress you, but they'll stress you down the field as well. So it's that physical attack. You got to be worried about Derrick Henry, but also got to be worried about throwing it right over your head. So I think that'd be a brilliant move if it happens.
Yeah, listen, we talk ad nauseum about the Bills needing to take that next step, but the Ravens have some work to do, too. That Lamar Jackson playoff record isn't looking so good, at least commensurate with incredible talent that he is. Okay, for much more, head over to ESPN Plus for his full article on the 17 wide receivers he thinks are going to be available via top stories around the league. So, Jeremy, let's start in Kansas City and the future of guard Trey Smith.
Trey Smith, it could be the top free agent in the entire free agency pool in March. He's going to get paid in a serious way, probably resetting the entire guard market, which is going to make it tough for Kansas City to keep him. But they do at least want to try. They'll have some talks at the Combine next week. A lot of people around the league are linking him to the Chicago Bears because GM Ryan Poles was with him in Kansas City when they drafted him in the late rounds, and they desperately need help in that guard, center, interior line standpoint. So watch for that potentially, but he will have several teams in his market. Jacksonville, you see Bears assistant GM Ian Cunningham right there. Bears, he's an option there. Ethan Waugh, the interim GM of the Jaguars, they are looking to fulfill that role by the end of the week, hopefully. They're going to conduct interviews. They've got the pool whittled down to 5. They'll do interviews Wednesday through Friday, hopefully make a pick by the end of the weekend. You see Josh Williams there with the 49ers. Right. A lot of good candidates. They're going to try to get that done so they can go to Indianapolis, be ready to go.
Okay.
And then T. Higgins. So my sense is, after asking around, is that the Bengals are leaning toward the franchise tag here, which would be around $26 million. But that's just one layer to their offseason story. I'm told that the message they are sending is that they want to try to re-sign 3 core guys, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and pass rusher Trey Henderson, who has 1 more year left on his deal. That would be quite a feat if they could pull this off, because you'd have Higgins on the books for at least $26 million.
Right.
Chase is going to want well above $35 million a year. Trey Henderson, he's in a pass rush.
The Kansas City Chiefs have big decisions to make this offseason, and Trey Smith is right at the center of it all. You already know that fixing the wide receiver situation is a top priority, but let's not forget, protecting Patrick Mahomes is just as crucial. We saw it last season. Andy Reid had to shuffle the offensive line, even moving Joe Thuney to left tackle, which left a hole at left guard. And in the Super Bowl, that line struggled under pressure, exposing a major weakness. Now Trey Smith is set to hit free agency, and plenty of teams need a dominant guard like him. But should the Chiefs let him walk? Or could the franchise tag be an option? Drop a comment. Should Kansas City go all in to keep Trey Smith? Or is it time to move on? Let's hear your take. Trey Smith isn't just another offensive lineman hitting free agency. He's one of the best available. And trust me, teams around the league are watching closely. According to Pro Football Focus, Smith was the highest rated guard set to hit the open market. That means he's about to get paid, and teams in desperate need of O-line help are ready to open their checkbooks. Whether it's a rebuilding franchise looking for stability or a contender wanting to upgrade protection, Smith is a hot commodity. The Chiefs know his value. They saw firsthand what happens when Mahomes doesn't have enough time in the pocket. But keeping him won't be easy, especially with a tight salary cap. So what do you think? Should Kansas City fight to keep Smith or let him walk and focus on other needs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Here's where things get tricky. If the Chiefs want to keep Trey Smith but can't work out a long-term deal, the franchise tag is an option. But is it the right move? For offensive linemen, the 2024 franchise tag is projected to cost around $25 million for one season. That's a massive price tag, especially for a team already investing heavily in the O-line. Think about it. The Chiefs are paying Joe Thuney top-tier money on just extended Jawan Taylor. Can they really afford another huge contract in the trenches? On the other hand, we all saw what happened in the Super Bowl when protection broke down. If Mahomes isn't properly protected, the entire offense suffers. So, is $25 million too much, or is it the price of keeping the best quarterback in the game upright? I want to hear from you. Would you pay $25 million to keep Trey Smith for 1 year? Vote in the poll and let's settle this debate. If the Chiefs decide not to use the franchise tag on Trey Smith, what's the next move? They could try to replace him through the draft. But is that a risk worth taking? The NFL draft always brings promising talent, and Kansas City could find a young, cheaper option at guard. But let's be real, replacing a proven veteran like Smith isn't easy. Just look at what happened in past years when the Chiefs had to rebuild the O-line on the fly. It takes time, and time isn't something you want to waste when you have Patrick Mahomes in his prime. So what's the smarter move? Locking in Smith for another run or rolling the dice on a rookie? Both options come with risks, and the decision could define the Chiefs' success next season. Let's hear it. Should the Chiefs draft a replacement or make the financial stretch to keep Smith? Drop your answer in the comments. So here we are. The Chiefs have a huge decision to make. Paying Trey Smith with a franchise tag is expensive, but losing him could hurt Mahomes and the offense. Drafting a replacement is an option, but it's a gamble. Brett Veach and Andy Reid have tough calls ahead. Do they restructure contracts to make room for Smith? Do they trust the draft to find a quality replacement? One thing is certain, the rest of the league is watching, and whatever the Chiefs decide will have a major impact next season. So, what's your verdict? Keep Smith or move on? Let's get the conversation going in the comments. And don't forget, if you love Chiefs content, hit that like button and subscribe for more updates.